Everyone. Welcome, everyone. Please go ahead and put your name and the program you're from, and maybe even your role in adult education in the chat as we're admitting folks to the webinar today. Great. So my name is Regina Soot, and I'd like to welcome everyone to COAB's webinar, Advocacy for All during Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. It's really my pleasure to kind of start this webinar with a message from our president, Jody, Angelo. A little bit about Jody. She's served in adult education for over 25 years and is currently the staff training and development coordinator for the Ohio Professional Development Network at the Ohio State University. She has served on various boards, committees, and task force at the local, regional, state, and national levels, supporting adult education and community services. She served as COAB Region 4 representative, and currently she's the president, but she's also been president-elect, vice president for membership, the public policy chair, and also the advocacy and governance chair for the Ohio Association for Adult and Continuing Education. So here to welcome us is Jody Angelo, our president. It sounds like maybe we're having some technical difficulty, Sharon, hearing the recording. Let's try to start that again.
Good afternoon. I am Jody Angelo, the current president for COAB. Welcome to Advocacy for All during Adult Education and Family Literacy Week webinar, generously sponsored by AZTEC Software. Hopefully you all have joined us today to learn more about Adult Education and Family Literacy Week activities and why it is important for all of us to participate in advocacy at all levels of legislation. It is an opportunity to celebrate success, engage in activities, and raise the visibility of the work that we are doing in the field of adult education. Advocacy is more important now than ever, as policymakers are making critical decisions about funding for adult education programs and working to address the growing needs of adult students and educators. Members of Congress want to hear from you to learn about the challenges that you are facing on the ground and how they can provide additional support. So during today's webinar, our CEO, Sharon Bonney, and President-elect and Public Policy Chair, Regina Soot, will be walking you through the AFLA Week events, the tools that we have to support you, as well as other support materials that you can use to schedule and prepare for your meetings with legislators. They will share information about current legislation that support adult education, both through fiscal year FY 2022 appropriations process and through COVID-19 relief bills. Additionally, with the economic downturn due to the COVID-19 and high levels of unemployment, the need for the attainment of education and new skills continue to grow. We must ensure that all adults have the opportunity to participate in the current and future workforce. And we must ensure that policymakers appreciate and value the role that adult education programs can play in the economic recovery efforts. COAB is involved in several partner initiatives that support these efforts at the local, state, and national level. So at this time, I would like to again welcome you and thank you for joining us today and for all that you do to support the students in the programs across this country. I'm going to turn this over to our CEO, Sharon Bonney, who again will share more about the partner initiatives, AFLA Week activities, the toolkit, and other supports that you can receive throughout Adult Education and Family Literacy Week from COABE.
Great, thanks so much. It was wonderful to hear from Jody Angelo, who is our board president, was unable to be with us today, but really wanted to share a few wonderful words with us. So with that, I'm going to now turn this over to Rafa Diaz of AZTEC Software, and he has a few words he's going to share with us as well. AZTEC Software is our wonderful sponsor. They have been a sponsor of our Educate and Elevate and our advocacy work for some time now. So Rafa, I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Sharon. So I just want to say hello and thank you for having me here. AZTEC is very proud and excited to be able to sponsor this event. As Sharon mentioned, we're longtime supporters of the event itself, but more importantly, the communities that you all represent. So advocacy is a tremendous part of what we all do collectively, right? There is no strong ecosystem that can, move people into the right direction without each other. And that is something that we don't take lightly here at AZTEC. That's why everything that we do is geared toward ensuring that we can support you, because at the end of the day, you are the ones, the agents of change that can support your own communities and learners. I, as a local policymaker here, really appreciate when folks come together to discuss these important topics, but more importantly, highlight the needs that we've identified. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we can address the needs of the entire family. And oftentimes, I think our policymakers focus in on the needs of K-12 and post-secondary, yet we forget that critical piece that is integral into ensuring that we have a healthy community by addressing a healthy family, right? Which are our adult learners. Many times we send children home to homes without a history of literacy or numeracy, but the good thing is that all of you from every part of our country are here to ensure that, we keep those folks visible, that we address them in a sustainable manner, and that we do what's right by people at the end of the day. So AZTEC is incredibly fortunate to not only participate on this, but we're excited to be able to help augment that message, because we care about our communities regardless of where you're at, and that also is the backdrop of how and why we operate in the fashion that we do. So we've been fortunate to be able to get your counsel in ensuring that we ensure our mission and our vision and the way that we roll out products provides equitable access to students, right? And whenever we talk about access, that's the foundational piece, because access increases engagement, and engagement increases outcomes. So everything that we've done here, from creating EPUBs to creating new products for Spanish-speaking students, is founded in the work that you all do. So while you'll hear thank you several times this week and throughout the year, you won't hear it enough, because you all are at the tip of that spear to ensure that we can bring visibility and honor to these adult learners. So thank you so much for having us. Happy to participate. Always here for you.
Thanks so much, Rafa. And just so everybody knows, AZTEC, Rafa, others in the AZTEC organization are seasoned advocates and many times have been on the Hill with us, and we really appreciate your friendship and support from AZTEC. Thank you. All right, so now on to our presentation today. We are jam-packed full of people to share ideas with you. Again, my name is Regina Suit, and I'm the president-elect of COABE and the public policy chair currently. We also have Sharon Bonney, COABE's chief executive officer. Michael Matos, our Region 3 rep and a seasoned advocate, will also be sharing with us, along with a great student ambassador, Margot Hudson. And then of course we have some local perspective. One of our state adult education advocate fellows, Peg Gould, is going to be sharing with us from New Jersey. So thanks all of you presenters for being here today, and thanks all the participants as well. So before we begin with our ideas that you're going to be able to take away today, we want to give you a little bit of an update what's happening on Capitol Hill from our public policy firm, Penn Hill Group. So welcome, Donica Petrosius. She's going to lead us through that kind of context and some calls to actions. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, everybody. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Sharon, and everyone else. we're just going to spend a few minutes on an update. If anyone ever has questions after this on more detail, please feel free to email Sharon and we'll help get further questions answered. But right now is a really critical time for adult education in the federal space. As you know, there is an annual appropriation for federal adult ed program. We call it Title II of WIOA, but it's the big federal program that we annually fund every year. That decision-making process for that is happening this fall and will probably come to final decision around December. We make that fight with you all every year, and we've seen increases in the past, and we know the needs are even greater. So we're going to need you to help us all fall, all work together, get your voices, asking the House and Senate members to increase funding for that program. But we also have a very unusual time, as Regina and Rafa mentioned. There's been ongoing efforts around COVID relief funding, as you've read in the newspapers for the last few years. K-12 education has gotten enormous and much needed amount of funding. Higher education, early education, they've all gotten really important funding, a lot of money to help recover from this COVID relief. Adult education and other workforce programs have not received any of that COVID relief funding. And we are starting to feel hopeful that a new process started actually just in the last few weeks. They call it budget reconciliation. Doesn't matter what it actually is. It just matters that that's the vehicle that's moving. We want to ask Congress for adult ed to get $1 billion in that budget reconciliation process. The House and the Senate are both moving quickly to try to set their markers. So in the next 2 weeks between now and September 10th, we need you to be pushing 1 billion, yes, with a B, like boy or bat. I don't know what other words would be. I don't know what the typical word is, but yes, 1 billion. They may spread it out over a number of years. They might do it all at once. It depends, but it's sort of that one-time ask. We've gotten indication from some of the House leadership that we might get some of that money. So we want to take it over the finish line. We can only do that if every single one of you are emailing and calling today. Sharon has a chat in the chat box that has a link to the exact language you can use. We are trying to be as least technical as possible, but still getting the message. So the key words are $1 billion in the budget reconciliation bill for adult education, period. That is the baseline ask. When we get to the Family Literacy Week in September, we'll kind of transition to adding an ask around our $135 million increase in the FY22 annual funding appropriations bill. But right in the next 2 weeks, we need to pound the pavement on the $1 billion in COVID relief ask. So that is the big update. And we have everything outlined. We have sample emails. We have, Sharon has tweets and Twitter handles and all the things that you need to activate. But it's real money on the table right now, and we need the push. So are there any, Regina, are there any questions I should be answering or?
There was one question about the difference between advocating and lobbying, and I'll go ahead and take that, and then you correct me if I'm wrong. What we're asking you to do with the 3-click software, because it's asking for specific money, it veers into the lobbying sphere. But every single one of us as a citizen of this country can lobby for things that we want. You just want to make sure that you do it on your own phone, your own device, on your own time. But the Ignite software makes it so easy. You literally can go out for lunch, do your lobbying advocacy, your citizen advocacy, and be back, and it's not a problem. If you're ever not sure about your organization around lobbying or advocacy, you should ask. But every one of us has that right as a citizen of these United States of America.
And I just wanted to mention the link is there in the chat box. I just demonstrated it while you were talking, Regina, so everybody could see it's click, click, click. That's it. super
Right.
simple.
And you can personalize it or not. I think it's really great when you can personalize it, but you don't have to say what your program is. You can say, you know, I'm an adult educator, I'm a student, I am a program administrator, and it's very easy to do. Make it very easy for you to do. So thank you, Donica, for that information. And so what you're going to be hearing today is more about what things you can do during National Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week in September. But the ask that we just sent out is for right now. We need to get that information out right now. So it's kind of like two different things. We're going to ask you to do something right now, and then we're going to also ask you to raise awareness and do some things during National Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. So thanks so much. We really appreciate that insight and what you bring to COABE and to the field. So as you can see, Adult Education and Family Literacy Week is September 19th, that week of the 19th through the 25th. And during the week, we're gonna be holding our second annual Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week virtually, so everyone can participate. So make sure that you visit the COABE website and the page specifically for all of the events that are happening during the week. So I'm going to turn it over to Sharon now to share some of the why we want to advocate for adult education during this week.
Great. Thank you so much, Regina. So we have here, I hope you all can see this. I'm going to put this in present mode. We have here some of these graphics that our team has put together that really talks about the need for adult education. We know that adult education is an economic catalyst. It really can serve as a talent pipeline for the workforce and helping people get back to work. We also know that there's a real need for digital literacy. Many, 28 million or more lack the basic digital skills that they need to even use a computer. So adult education programs across the country are helping to fill these needs. We also know that a mother's educational level is so important for their children, and it is the greatest detriment if she does not have that education, because it really impacts all of those in her household. I think about how every single night I help my children with their homework. I'm sure many of you moms out there do as well. And then of course that many of our adult learners, more than 74%, are people of color. So adult education is really increasing racial equity. And we love that. We love that this is a tool and a way to really help folks up and out of poverty and into family sustaining wages. We also know that it is the greatest deterrent to recidivism, to folks going back into jail. And we know that when we reskill for jobs that pay a family sustaining wage, we're really helping that entire family. So there's a lot of great reasons why we want to push hard for this funding and why we want to do everything we can at this critical juncture that Donica was talking about. I want to also mention, because I did see a question in the chat specifically asking what this funding will be for, and this is going to go right into the adult ed programs. It'll go through the state directors, as I understand it, and it'll go right into the adult ed programs. So that's what we're really pushing for. And of course, we know that there's an individual impact. We've seen the research out there that talks about how 100 hours of studies equals roughly $10,000 worth of increased wages for our adult learners. So when we put that against the opposite, that approximately half of our adult learners are employed but underemployed, or they're only employed in part-time positions, we know that this really is that key for helping folks to reach their potential. We've been working hard at putting together graphics that make the case for funding. We know that a lot of our adult ed programs are struggling. They have contacted us and shared this with us. We know that when they went from the brick and mortar into the online setting and now into a hybrid version, that really impacted them, and it impacted, they needed more teachers, they needed more space, they needed more PPE. There was enrollment issues. There's also the social distancing and the need for additional staffing. So lots of issues that they're really trying to work through, and they already were on a shoestring budget before, right? So this is our goal, is to really provide these eye-popping graphics that help make that case and that you can use during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. And also that we're trying to help you to take action for adult ed funding. So what can you do for Adult Education and Family Literacy Week? I am going to share with you the different things we put together here.
I think am I sharing my screen now?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sharon. So today we want to give you a lot of ideas of things that anyone can do to advocate really all year long, but especially during AEFL week, because our voice is elevated when we all kind of join together and amplify that one message during this week. So I'm hopeful that students, state leaders, state offices, state associations, ally organizations, and individual members will just take maybe 1, 2, or even 3 things away from this webinar that they can implement this year during AFL week. So during today's webinar, we're going to give you some ideas on how to advocate kind of along the spectrum from easy or a light lift to medium to just a little bit more. They're all really important activities to highlight the work of adult education, as sometimes, as we all know, the general public as well as policymakers aren't sure what adult education is and how critical it really is to our nation's prosperity. So I'm just going to list some easy lifts, and you're going to hear kind of some things repeated throughout the webinar today. So a really easy thing you could do is, put a marquee up at your school or at an elementary school or at your library that just says National Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. You can even use the logos that COABE provides for that kind of work.
Excuse me, Regina. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Your slides are not up. I didn't know if you wanted to share your slides.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Well, sorry about that. How about now? All right, so I don't think you missed anything from the slides from what I said. I didn't have a picture of a marquee or a library. But one of the other light lifts you can do is to send a press release, and COABE also has templates for that. Many times when there's something happening, like during a week that's being recognized, the press will pay maybe a little bit more attention. And so when you send a press release out, be ready to have a program to highlight or a student story to highlight, because they're most likely going to want to pick up on that story. Make sure that you use the Educate and Elevate. We're super easy 3 clicks. We're going to go into that a little bit more, as well as the Twitter storm. Make sure that you tag your local legislators. Twitter's the easiest way to contact your local legislators and the press in your area. And then make sure that you help your students and your teachers see what these resources are. We had one program last year that the program director went into all the classes, everybody stepped out, they all did the 3-click software at the same time, and their legislators in their area got hundreds of thousands, I think maybe 1,200 reaches that one day. So very minimal effort, great impact. So it's my pleasure today to talk a little bit about what your students can do to help advocate and build awareness during National Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. So we have Margot Hudson here today. She was our National Adult Learner of the Year in 2016, and she's received Governor Kasich's Courage Award. In 2017, Cleveland Magazine named Margot one of Cleveland's most interesting people, and you will see that is so true. She is a COABE ambassador and speaks to the community groups and nonprofits all over her area, how literacy has changed her life. And if you probably are in line with her at the grocery store, she will also fill you in there. She's really an inspirational example of what is possible when you persevere. So please welcome Margot Hudson. So you just need to unmute Margot and just, yeah. There you go.
Thank you, Sharon and Regina, for reaching out to me. It was such an honor to receive that email and also to be a part of Literacy Week. Actually, I'm born and raised in, Chicago, didn't have a good childhood. So therefore, I didn't finish school. I basically went up to the 9th grade and, left home just to get away from those trauma experience. However, I ended up in Cleveland and, I was working at the airport, only making $7.25 an hour. And again, I'm a contract worker, so we don't work directly with the airline. So anyway, just running around, and I was in my 40s then. So I said, I got to get my GED because I had went to different programs before, but I stopped and started, life gets in the way. So as I started cleaning planes, and I was like, I got to have a better life for myself. I reached out to First Call for Help, and they directed me to Seeds of Literacy, adult program. Wow, and it's been history ever since, as Regina said. So I graduated at the age of 52 from Seeds of Literacy. And from there, I didn't know I would be tutoring or even standing before you today. However, I guess the universe had something different planned for me, and that was to give back to my community. So I did several speaking for our brunches, and then it just took off from there. So, wow. So I tutored several times a week to our students. And wow. And as Regina mentioned, I received the Courage Award from Governor Kasich. Also, I'm in touch regularly with our government officials, and they know how literacy is important, and they have been very supportive of me in this journey. So again, giving back to the community and being an advocate for adult literacy, you don't have to start at the top, because I didn't start at the top. I started with, my friends, I thought, was studying, I would start with them. And then eventually I started moving up, again, working in a Continental Club in Cleveland. I met several business people, officials, government officials, and I was able to, again, work my way up and feel like I had something to offer. So I was able to share my story with them, and it's just been like a domino effect. So again, you don't have to start where I started. I mean, you don't have to end up where I did, but I started, small, you know, talking to the people at the grocery store, your neighbors, where you volunteer at. I know me and my husband volunteered at the Bountiful Basement Food Pantry. So they said that I can put information about Seeds of Literacy in every bag that I pack. So again, that's raising the awareness of literacy to those families that come to pick up their groceries. It's just, your doctor's office. I'm always going to the grocery store. You become in touch with the cashier or Walmart. You get to know the cashier at Walmart. So, and actually I have a habit. Every time I leave home, I take my business cards with me. And then I talk about adult literacy and how literacy changed my life. And I'm out in the community. I go to homeless shelters, library programs, just in the community, sharing my stories, doing a community events. So it's just been a tremendous blessing to be able to, get my GED and then pay it forward to others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margot. And I'll tell you, if we do half of what Margot does, the National Adult and Family Literacy Week is going to be a huge success. So now into some more ideas and information about what you can do. So one of the things that we found very, very kind of light effort, big impact, is to record and share your student stories and your videos, program videos that really highlight what's happening in adult education programs. We've said it several times, you can tweet your legislators, public officials, they love Twitter. So it's a great way to connect to them and their staffs. You can use the Ignite software to do everything from short emails, very quick, to reaching out and setting up appointments with your legislators. And lastly, you can pick up the phone. You can talk to people in legislative staff offices and meet them that way. I'm going to see if I don't know if I can do this. No, I can't do it. I can't do it while I'm presenting to show how the tweet storm works, Sharon. I don't know if you want to present for a second, I can pull that up, I think, or if you want to do it.
Sure, I can help you.
Thank you.
Yep, 1 second here. So this is really easy to use. I'm going to share my screen. And that was our goal, was to make these tools just as easy as possible. So if you click here, join our Twitter storm, and you click submit, you see all of these legislators who are now, we're now tagging them. And you can change this too. You know, you can change, and for people who don't have Twitter, we see that it doesn't find a Twitter ID for them, but otherwise. So you could change this if you wanted to, and then you click I'm finished, send to all. That's it, 3 quick clicks, and it tags all of your legislators.
Great. Thanks for doing that, Sharon. Now I'll go back to sharing. So can you see my screen? Yeah, awesome. All right. So you have to, speak up. That's the thing, right? If you want to be heard, you have to speak up. If they don't know what's going on, you can't hardly blame policymakers for not making the right decisions. So when policymakers make decisions, many times they go to someone who's already talked to them personally or that they have a relationship with. They might not know all the stats and the stories that affect people on the ground. And that's why it's so important to contact your policymakers and be their resource. They decide things on what they remember. So we came together as a field and we have staved off major funding cuts over the last 4 years. COAB's going to be sending out lots of communications, and they just sent one out today too to respond to. So there is an additional 63 million on top of the 75 million that COAB helped advocate for, plus the 1 billion with a B, billion with a B, that's currently being considered in a new bill in the Senate. And so in many instances where programs received less funding over the last few years, adult education has received increases. And that really is thanks to you in the field for speaking up by contacting legislators through in various ways. And also the hundreds of visits that we've held on the Hill and through virtual Capitol Hill Day. So now we're going to hear from a local fellow. Peg Gould is a local program director in New Jersey, and she's going to share some of the ways that she has engaged with local leaders to elevate adult education throughout the year, but especially during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. So welcome, Peg.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you, Sharon. So I decided to apply for a SAFE Fellow because I was able to see over the course of my career firsthand the need that our adults have to get a hand up. Too many of our adult learners have fallen through the cracks, and after all, who wants to be there? So I'm just passionate enough and maybe crazy enough to understand and hold tight to the ideal that lives change through education, especially adult education. I saw the SAFE Fellow application come up and I thought, do I have what it takes? So I talked with a colleague of mine and she said, Peg, if not you, then who would do it? And if not now, then when would this happen? So could I tell the story? Could I get others to take action? Well, I always wanted to be a safe cracker. So here I am, thanks to an interview with Sharon and her accepting me as a fellow. And I ramped up and I decided to push my knowledge, push my resources, use my experience, and really drive the cause of adult education to pull the community, partner agencies, my state adult education association, workforce development boards to be able to lift this network for the students so they could get a chance at education that would lift them out of the cracks and put them on a path to learning, earning, and succeeding. And so when COVID-19 hit, we as adult educators did what we expect our students to do on a daily basis. We adapted and we rose. And we rose to give our adult learners the confidence and chance at earning a family sustaining wage and not just reframing themselves from going from one minimum wage job to another, to another, to another. And so I worked with legislators at the federal level. 3 weeks into my fellowship, I had contacted a US representative for the state of New Jersey, and I ramped up to give a presentation. After my meeting, her office contacted me and asked me if I would contribute information for the bill she was authoring about universal broadband coverage. And we see where that bill has led. So, what can you do? Here's what you can do at a local level, at a county level, at a state level. Send out email blasts, send out those graphics, send out those memes. Have your students record a 30-second, 15-second Flipgrid video about the importance of adult education to them, especially at this pandemic time. Go on a radio program, record a public service announcement. So whether it is on social media, through political avenues, or through advocating for economic changes of the future, we as adult educators are able to sustain changes that confront us and hit our learners especially hard through legislation and continued funding. No matter what happens, we will do more than survive. We will thrive. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Sharon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Peg, for sharing those ideas and your enthusiasm. How could you not be excited about advocating after listening to Peg? So let's move on to some maybe more medium lists. Again, they're not hard. They just might take a little, a little bit more time and effort. So one of the things teachers can do that really is important with, their civic learning is to do letter writing in class. They can write letters to their legislators or write emails to their legislators in their classes. It's a great writing activity, reading activity, and civic engagement activity. Students, teachers, administrators can write op-eds or letters to the editor in the newspaper. Just think if you opened the newspaper, one morning during the week and you saw nothing but letters to the editor about National Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. You can also hopefully connect with your state association. We really hope state associations are going to be taking the lead on doing work at the state level and giving you tools and resources and ideas. Again, when you do these things together, it just amplifies everything. So a statewide campaign from the association, from your state, is something that hopefully you can connect to. If you don't have time to invite a policymaker, to your program, or to a class, consider just having a student meet one-on-one, with your policymaker, or with a small group of people. I'll tell you, there's nothing like having a student with you on a visit. Nobody looks at you anymore when there's a student. They want to hear the student's story and the impact of what they're putting in for funding and policies. They want to hear that impact from the people getting the service. There are national companies like Starbucks and Dollar General, Walmart, Target, lots of them that work in the literacy space. So make sure your local affiliates know what's happening during that week, and maybe they will also do some press for you. And then of course, don't forget your local, stores and your local companies. Maybe your local coffee shop or your donut store or your bookstore, a local business will promote adult education during that week. Maybe they'll give a discount during that week. It's a way for them to do marketing as well as raise awareness about adult education. Make sure that you also connect with your allies. Does your local YWCA know about adult education? Does your Chamber of Commerce know, your Rotary? Make sure to include them when you send out a press release in your communication plan. Sometimes it's not really hard at the local level to get a proclamation for adult education and Family Literacy Week. So, take a moment to write to your mayor or to your city council and see if they would be willing to do that work. And of course, we've all mentioned how important it is to submit videos, especially from students. So here's some information about just how impactful videos are. And we have samples of those videos on the COAB website. But people, remember 20% of what they hear. So you're only going to remember 20% of what I say today, maybe. But if you go to the webpage, you're going to remember another 30% of what you see and 70% of what they see in here. And that's why the videos are just so impactful. And you can send those to us and we'll make sure that those get put up on to the webpage. I don't know if you want to mention anything more about that, sharing the videos and how easy it is.
I do. And I also wanted to share, I think we wanted to share one that was sent in last year.
Oh,
and
yeah, yes.
See how easy. So we intentionally pulled up one from last year. You're going to see how easy it was to do this. This teacher took a video of an adult learner speaking, and you'll get the sense of how simple it is, but how effective it is. So I'm going to share that.
Hello, I'm participating in the English as Second Language program, which has been an amazing challenge for me. And after 1 year, I have amazingly improved my communication skills. I really wish that this program could continue sharing experiences with more people in the future. Thank you, Employment Skills Center, for everything. See you.
So what you can do is you can take that video on your cell phone and just send it to advocacy@coabe.org. We have instructions on the website for how you can participate. We'll enter you into a drawing for a prize. But even more than that, what we'll do is we'll push this out on our website and on social media. And last year we had a fantastic impact as a result of that. There's a lot of social media activity taking place. And so we just want to encourage you to do that. Super simple way to get involved and engage your adult learners as well.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Sharon. So we know that millions of people are on social media, whether you are or not. Millions of people are on every minute of every day. Some people it takes a little bit longer to get on than others, but if you're not on a social media platform, you should consider it for this work. You don't have to be on it every day. And your students, your local leaders. Sorry, I'm going to share it.
Great.
Yeah, sorry about that. I thought I was sharing. So
Regina, you're not sharing. Can you share?
Well, it says I am. Can you?
I can share it. Yep.
Oh, how about now? Am I sharing now?
Yes, now you are.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. The transition between those, I'm not as seasoned as Sharon is, flipping back and forth. But so legislators really read and respond to social media. I can tell you that personally, that many of my own policymakers in Arizona follow my Twitter and Instagram posts, and really almost that they do that more than any other kind of communication. They might look at their social media posts before they look at their emails. So don't discount social media during National Adult and Family Literacy Week. Over 74% of all people utilize Facebook, and then Twitter and Instagram are really close behind. And don't forget their staff too. It's just important to build relationships with the staff offices of your policymakers as it is the policymaker themselves. So I think we were going to do a poll here, Sharon, is that correct?
That is.
So we just want to kind of know, do you already right now have plans for Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week? It's just a quick yes or no. We'll just give us a minute or so just for that. Are we getting those results in, Sharon?
We sure are.
How's everybody responding?
Can you see the results?
Yep. All right, so it looks like about 50-50. So I'm really super glad that you're on this webinar. So if you don't have ideas yet, hopefully you'll have some when you're off of this webinar. So we want to make sure is that you know that you don't necessarily have to, meet with a senator. That's not the only way to advocate. So there's other ways to participate and raise awareness. And we think that many of them are just as effective as the in-person meetings and make it really easier for you as the field to participate in the activities. So, everything from the lighter lifts that we talked about on social media, having your students tell their story, having you tell your story. You as an adult educator have an adult ed story. So don't discount your own story and your own impact telling your story. Make sure that you use all of the tools that we're going to give you on Educate and Elevate, and we're going to go through those in just a second. So finally, we've got, I don't like to call it a heavy lift, but it's just a little bit more work, but a lot more impact perhaps. So meeting with your policymakers, and we really like the team approach where the state association takes the lead, you have a student, maybe you have a teacher, maybe you have somebody from COAB on that call. Those are really effective and they can be scripted out. COAB has all the resources you need for those kinds of meetings as a team. You can do, another activity you might do around civic engagement is have like a civic day where everybody learns about the issues around adult education, what the numbers are and the stats. You can do math lessons around those kinds of things. You also want to make sure to connect with your state association. And up next is a great state association leader who's going to talk a little bit more about a virtual rally idea that he has had and implemented. And so I'm going to introduce Michael Matos now.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to say a little bit how we got to the virtual rally idea. The State Association in Illinois, IASA, IACEA, the voice of adult education in Illinois. Basically, we've had a very successful in-person attendance at our state capitol and rallied through our legislative day in the Capitol Rotunda. And we've hundreds of participants and speakers from students to legislators. When we had to pivot to a more virtual event during the COVID start and then throughout, we developed this virtual rally where participants can still advocate, but from the comfort of their home. And as our last presentation that we did with COAB, the title was from the Capitol Rotunda to the kitchen table. We were able to build this virtual rally and still get our voices heard. So a little bit about the planning of this. We had our scope and roles. We made sure that we had legislative liaisons, we had participant connections, we had our champions, and our so-called gatekeepers, right? That basically had the flow of information, especially through social media. So as we assign these roles, we use the toolkits that are out there, like, the great toolkit that COAB through Educate and Elevate has. IASA has put together enough information that it is a toolkit that on their website. The organization I work for, Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition, also has a toolkit. We've been doing a lot of advocacy, grassroots type advocacy within the city of Chicago and in the county. And then, of course, we put together an action plan. We had a one-pager, an ask participation. The one-pager kind of listed everything step by step on how to get involved. We made sure that the virtual rally gave participants, students, learners, clients, organizations the multiple ways to participate. We aligned it, describing how adult education programs and services are providing, obviously, this critical resource, and then offer that participation with the letters. Next slide. The strategic engagement, we looked at, prioritizing meetings with key committee members, meeting with legislators throughout the week, and then inviting them to come to the virtual rally. Many of them did, many of them spoke. Others sent recordings, and we played those during the virtual rally. We escalated the message to reach champions everywhere. They also attended the virtual rally. We identify the most strategic forms of engagement, as I mentioned earlier, with the social media and the outreach campaigns, newsletters, and so on, and different programs throughout the state. For the wrap up, we looked at how to create a final video, wrapping everything up, sending all the documents that were promised, and promoting and sharing the advocacy work in the long run. So after the rally, how do we continue to advocate? Because this is an everyday kind of thing. How do we continue to advocate, and how do we continue to share these successes? We sent the thank you notes and all that other information that I mentioned. And then we collected all our materials. We had a debriefing. We used the successes to drum up ongoing engagement, and made sure that we looked at what needed to be fixed, or what we needed to add to this virtual rally, so we can have this event throughout the year, not only for AEF All Week, and then share this structure for this event with others, to see if they would want to use something like this as well. And we're already planning our next virtual rally. We are actually planning a virtual rally, which will be the entire Region 3. I'm the Region 3 COABE representative, and we're hoping to have 8 states involved in a 2-hour program with a virtual rally. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michael. And thank you so much for your work in this in the state and at the national level, and for putting this virtual rally idea kind of into reality. So I think what we're going to go to next now is kind of what COABE has been doing, and Sharon's going to share what COABE's been doing for Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week, but also leading up to it.
Great. And so I also want to thank Michael, because he is out there swinging, trying new things, and really trying to get the states in his region engaged. So thank you, Michael, for all of your work. Here at COABE, we have been working with Congress. We've had a lot of meetings. We also held a legislative brief. I'm curious, by show of hands, if you all could just say how many of you have participated in that legislative brief or not. That'd be great. But we did hold a legislative brief, and we had more than 43 different legislators that were represented on that brief, and we were able to really showcase what adult education does for the field and for those adult learners in particular. So that was really exciting. We've also worked closely with the Department of Education, had numerous meetings with them as well. We've been working with the Office of Management and Business as well. We continue our work with the National Governors Association, and in fact, they will be partnering with us during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week, as will AZTEC, the Office of Career and Technical Adult Education. We also continue to work with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. They're another partner for Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. We've been working with our 100+ partners, including our national business partners. In fact, we will have a roundtable that will take place during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week, but we're also including them in our virtual visits. So a number of our business partners have offered to come alongside of us, which would be Google and Tyson, IBM, and some others as well. So we're excited about that. We are creating tools and resources for the field, which we'll go over in just a minute. And we continue to provide professional development for the field. So we've been hard at work behind the scenes. We also, during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week, will be honoring our legislative champions. So We have here Governor Whitmer, who gave $23 million towards adult education in her state of Michigan, Governor DeSantis, who gave $70 million in the state of Florida, Mayor Bagwell of Carson City, Nevada, and Mayor Mendenhall of Salt Lake City, Utah. And we also, of course, will be honoring our members of Congress. So Senator Todd Young, Senator Jack Reed, Representative Yarmouth, and Representative Grijalva. So that's exciting. We feel that that's a particularly important piece to this because, of course, the legislators are the ones that control the funding. So now I'm just going to take a quick minute to show you what we have going on our website. And the reason I mention this, we'll be sending all this out on eBlast as well. But if you were to go to coabe.org and then just click on National Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. Now, as we get closer to Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week, this will be on the homepage too. But you see that we have some specific instructions spelled out right here. But we have also put the schedule of events here on the homepage, everything that's taking place Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You can also click to the specific day and it will take you right there into that specific day. So for example, here, you're going to see what's taking place on Monday. But as well, you're going to see that we have tools that are specific. So for example, for the COABE members, here's our Twitter storm we talked about earlier today. Here's where you can send an email to your legislator. Here's where you can download and share graphics that make the case for adult education. So there's that page there that we talked about earlier today, right there. There's also the daily programming that we just talked about. And then as well, those videos we were talking about that the members were submitting. Then we also have state members, state leaders, and anyone is welcome to participate and take advantage of these, but there's, look up your legislator. There's an option where you can enter your zip code and that will tell you, who your legislators are, and then you can send emails to them. So for example, if I put in 13209 and say go, here's all my legislators and here's how I can reach them. But then there's, send an email to schedule an appointment if you want to meet with your legislators. We've already put together an email that's super easy to use. Click, send it to your legislator. Logging your appointments if you'd like to do that. We have a toolkit for state leaders that has everything from scripts to virtual backgrounds to PowerPoints, everything you could think of that you would need. We have a virtual COABE on the Hill guide as well. We have a video that you can use that you can share out. We have fact sheets, data fact sheets that you can use. And so you could click here, and I live in the state of Florida now. I can click right in here and download my fact sheets and send those over. We also have national fact sheets that you can use as well right here. All of this is on the website, so you can see all of this there. As well, we have the option that our partners can also have specific actions that they can take, corporate partners here, and then option to donate, and 100% of the proceeds go right back to the field for that. So these are just some of the things we've put in place for Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week, and we'll also be sending out e-blasts every day like we did in the past. We'll be on social media constantly with our partners who are partnering with us as well. And hopefully you all will be taking action too throughout the week. So I'll stop sharing my screen and turn this back over to Regina.
Thanks so much, Sharon. I know it's a lot of information, but the COABE website is really designed so that anybody can take advantage of any of these activities that we've suggested, from light lift to medium to heavier. Unless your state has a full-time paid lobbyist, like many educational interests do, the job is yours. Make sure that you add your voice to this conversation. It's very important because this work really is, the adult education is our passion. I know that people that are in adult education do this work because they're passionate and they see how students' lives are transformed. So we want to make sure too that you do this work during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. So I'd like to, I think we're just about out of time. I'd like to thank our presenters today for sharing all the ideas that they had and their passion. We know that participants should have ideas now after this webinar on what you can do, either as students, teachers, administrators, or state association leaders. If you want to connect with us, make sure that you email us at advocacy@coabe.org. Tell us what you're doing, ask us questions. We are here to support you. in whatever you're doing to kind of raise the voice, our collective voice for adult education during this critical time. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Regina. Thank you, everybody. We hope to see you during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week.